Okay, so this video is going to explain the twining of the warp yarns, why that's a problem, how to avoid it, how to fix it if you can't avoid it. Okay? So, if I weave continually in the same direction, I will end up with a build-up of twist coming down towards the cards here. That will eventually make it impossible to weave. And this is how that happens. I'll place a pencil in here and I'll continue weaving. Okay? Okay, so now we can see that between the pencil here and the cards, an amount of twist has developed as we've been moving all in the same direction. Okay, now watch what happens when I move in the other direction. It's going to start removing the twist. That's it. All that twist now been undone, and this is what the pattern looks like. So, as you can see here, as the chevrons advance, the twist builds up, and here, as they retreat, the twist is released. Okay, now there are ways of getting rid of the twist. If you have to continue turning in the same direction for a long time, for instance, if you're doing a ram's horn pattern or something like that, you'll have some cards that are continually turning in the same direction. Okay. In that case, you want to find a way of separating these individual groups of warp ends, each card's worth of ends. Remember, in weaving, in English at least, a yarn or thread that's in the warp is called an end, and a yarn or thread that's in the weft is called a pick. So each card holds 4 ends, and the reason it becomes quite difficult to move this is because not only are these individual groups of 4 ends twisting around each other, but also they're sort of plying back on each other. As you can see, groups of ends are starting to twist around another group of ends, so they twist and then they ply back on each other, so it becomes quite difficult to separate, to move this twist up, because they're all sort of bunched in together. So a way to move this backwards is to use a comb, and I have one somewhere. I did. It was sitting about. So let me just have a look for that. Well, this is annoying. I swear I had it just a minute ago. Just a minute ago. And it's gone. Where has it gone? Ah, here it is. On the loom. It's the last place you'd expect, eh? Right. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this very fancy comb, which you can buy anywhere. I don't care where you are, I'm sure you can get a comb. Easy peasy, they're not expensive. Don't bother buying any, unless you want to do historical reenactment, of course. I wouldn't bother going and buying a weaver's comb, because you can just use this and it costs you nothing. So I'll just place each group of ends into the comb like so. That's awkward. Need a bit of yarn. So just tied on like so. And that's going to go down and around just once. I'm going to place the first group of ends in here, like so. I'm going to tie them in. Okay, so now I've got my comb tied in. I've tied it in with woolen yarn because that's all I had available right here. I didn't really want to go up and get some cotton or anything like that, but I would tie it on with cotton if I were you, and maybe not quite as tight as this, but it'll do for now. The reason being that I've put wool here to hold this woolen warp down, and that's fine and all, but the problem is that wool, well, it's all fibrous and it pulls fibres up for itself, and that could belt up, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be a total disaster, but it'd be a wee bit of a pain in the backside again. So if I was you, I'd do that with with cotton instead, smooth cotton, um, or sewing thread, whatever you got. And it's maybe a little bit easier to do this when the warp's actually loose before you started weaving. But I only just thought about doing this anew, so I'll just place it up there. And this is nice because it separates the warp bundles out and allows you to quite easily move the twist back along the length of the warp. And I have quite a long warp here, it's about 5 meters long. So I could probably continue weaving chevrons for about 3 meters without having to start going backwards, as I'd simply tension out the whole length of the warp somewhere like in the hallway or outside or something. Just tie one end to one post, other end to another, and then just get the comb, put your hand in the shed here, and just push the twist as far back as you can, you know. So that's one thing. I used to, before I discovered you could do this, I used to weave long chevron bands by untying the back end warp knot up there and just manually pulling these out by hand, but it took ages and ages, like hours and hours and hours, just to do that once, and you ended up having to do it about 10 times. So just nah, didn't bother. Um, there are there is there are a couple of other ways to get rid of twist as you're weaving. You can use weights on individual card groups of ends. For instance, you know, each of these cards could be tensioned against a separate weight. Kumihimo weights are quite nice for that. Tama, they're called. Quite expensive though. Maybe lace makers weights might do the job. I'm not sure. Haven't tried them, but it's worth a try. I've used knitting weights as well. They're useful, like you know, machine knitters weights. so you can use those as well. It's also possible to set these with swivel hooks um, against the board, but it's a right pain in the backside. It really is. So I'd go with little heavy rocks, pieces of lead for individual little weights, or just doing it like this. But really, the best way of avoiding twist building up in your cloth is to weave a pattern like this, a diamond or something, where the cards turn continuously for a certain number of turns and then turn back. Most of the simple techniques that you'll start off with, and even some of the more advanced techniques like Ram's Horn and Vine, they can be adapted to uh, to reverse at a certain point. So shouldn't be too much of an issue for you. Anyway, uh, I hope you found this useful. I'll just talk about the loom for a minute because I built this loom and I'm thinking of building another one because this was just a sort of prototype. Um, it does the job. It's a little bit cumbersome. As you can see, it's a bit longer than it needs to be. I'm thinking of making another one that's maybe say only maybe this long, that you can just sort of rest on the coffee table right there, with some manner of holding the warpin in good order and advancing the cloth and everything like that. Um, but at the moment I've got this and I knocked it together in the back garden at a bit of scrap wood. My woodworking skills are a little bit not the best, but it does the job. Anyway, so that's the crack with that. Hope that's been helpful. Have a good day.